Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Beyond the Bottom Line, the podcast that sits down with nonprofit leaders, executive directors, founders, volunteers, pretty much anybody in the nonprofit space on the back end of things who makes things go. You know, we have a very popular podcast, Profit Nonprofits, where we sit down with the opposite side, coaches, consultants, fundraisers, and all the other interesting people. But no one ever talks to the other side, where the people who are truly magical, truly interesting, share their stories. And this is the reason for this podcast. And so this show, if you haven't already subscribed to it on YouTube, it sits on YouTube, Beyond the Bottom Line Show. And we're soon to be launching with our new partner, Brave Hearts TV, where we'll be streaming this show and many more shows on Amazon Fire, Roku, IPTV, much more streaming platforms where you can engage with our content and more. And I'm super excited for this episode because I'm sitting down with a really good friend of mine. Actually, her brother's a really good friend of mine. I've known him for many years, and I've actually been involved a little bit in this organization that we're about to talk to on and off on some consulting. We're sitting down with a good friend of mine, Fayga Marks. Fayga is the founder of an organization that helps with headaches and migraines in Israel, where there wasn't ample care, ample resources to be able to help people in that space. And she decided to do something as a sufferer of that herself. But I'm not going to talk about it because that's her job. And before we dive into the show, I just want to make a mention this show is proudly sponsored by GiveSuite. GiveSuite is the all-in-one platform for nonprofits who are looking to elevate and accelerate their marketing, fundraising, donor management, and everything they need all in one space. You can try GiveSuite out for 60 days, no holds bar. Everything's open to you. Just follow the link below in the show notes and give it a try. See how you like it. If it changes your life, keep going. If not, we still love you anyways. If you want to learn more about us, you can check this show out on our website as well. But without further ado, nobody cares about me. Let's talk about you. Fayga, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Good, thank you. How are you doing, Sam?
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So it's a pleasure to have you. And what's your deal?
What's my deal? Well, I'm not sure where to start, but I basically got started as a patient advocate about 10 years ago, advocating for those with headache and migraine after being kicked out of a doctor's office, asking for a very specific treatment for migraine. And I really came to understand that patients had no resources, the medical community had no resources, and it was kind of like you had to navigate in this sea all by yourself to figure everything out. And so I decided that I didn't want patients to have to go through what I'm going through, my own journey. So I founded the Israel Headache and Migraine Foundation, known as My Chronic Brain, for those that suffer from migraine, those who suffer from headache. And the whole point, the way I love to sum it up and package it up, is that no one should have to go through what I went through in the medical system. Everyone should have a nice, pleasant experience. Everyone should have their resources, the knowledge, the access to the specialists that they need without having to fight and claw their way through and just not know where they are.
No, that's really cool. And the fact that you were someone who was looking, you started as patient advocacy, and now you're running this organization. So how's it been running the organization? I know you've done a lot, like from our conversations, but like you've really been instrumental in getting into the government and getting into different things and really pushing this further than just kind of brushing you off. So how's that work been going? How's that challenge been?
It's been a crazy journey. I really, when I started this out, I was really hoping that like I would have some amazing team with me and, people by my side. And the reality is I do it all by myself, which I know seems ridiculous. But it's been a crazy journey, from the meetings with the pharmaceutical companies to fighting our way into the Knesset to get hearings on migraine, fighting to get medication included in the health basket here so patients don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of shekels for medication that could improve their lives. A lot of the work's taken 2-3 years. Political events affect everything that happens. And then, thank God we have the small successes, whether it's getting committees in the health committee on migraine. In the last 2 years, we've managed to get 2 medications in the health basket for migraine, which is a major game changer. For the first time in 25 years, patients have access to new migraine treatments at prices that won't kill them and that can improve their lives. So it's difficult on one hand. On the other hand, you get these like small reward steps along the way that help encourage you and motivate you to move forward. I think that the challenge for me is that like I feel like I do everything alone. And so that's like my biggest challenge of like, how do I keep myself going as a one-man team?
Well, that's what I say. How do you do this all by yourself? Like, what do you do? How are you managing this all by yourself? Because I've seen you're pretty active in a lot of these nonprofit groups. You've come to a bunch of the events that I've done. I've seen you're very, very active. It seems like you're always learning and trying to adapt and understand more what's going on in the space, which is really good for a founder and and especially someone who's really going solo. So how have you like been able to manage all this?
I'm not sure. Like, I truly think it's a miracle that I've survived and managed to do what I do. I'm very blessed that I meet all types of special people along the way, and that some of our partners have been really helpful along the journey. I don't have my own laptop. Basically, I run this nonprofit from my cell phone, and it started as a Facebook group. Today we have over 7,500 members, and it continues to grow. And it's a space where patients can ask questions, get information, share, feel that they're supported. And everything else that I do is kind of like behind the scenes, working with lobbyists, chasing after members of Knesset, working with our pharmaceutical partners, and there are days that it's great. There are days where it's really difficult. I think that for myself, I kind of like, my goal is to try and map out, let's say, 3 main projects to accomplish a year. And, somehow I get it done. Last year was such a blessing that we managed to do our first migraine patient conference. And I'm still not sure how I managed to put it all together. And I put it together in, less than 6 months. And thank God it was a roaring success. So I think it's really due to the partners and the support. And at the same time, I feel like I'm struggling all the time. There are days like today where, we're just coming back to work from Passover vacation, and it's a bit difficult. It's like I have this overwhelming mountain of work, and I have to prioritize what do I do first and try and break it up into little tasks and tell myself, okay, here's 2 or 3 things you're working on today. Leave the rest for tomorrow. Decide the next day what you're working on.
No, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. Do you automate anything, any of your processes or
No, I do everything myself, from writing the daily migraine question, which goes up on our community every day at 10 o'clock. I do the research. I look up for questions. I think about what it's like to live like a migrainer and ask questions that are relevant. And if we're posting about the newest research or, some big news in the headache or migraine world that requires, research and time invested as well. I hope to get to that point where I can automate things where, I can press a button and something will happen for me in 6 months. The most I do is like I schedule posts for like a month in advance. The frustrating part for me is that like I can't like do, let's say, 6 months of work at one time. That's like one difficult, frustrating thing about Facebook, because there are times like I'm in the zone, and I just want to knock everything out, and then like I have to stop, and so then a day or two later, a week later, I have to come back and start that process all over again.
I know, and I hear that. And when it comes to fundraising, how have you managed to raise funds? I mean, like it's mostly advocacy, so you're working a lot with partnerships and relationships. But like when it comes to funds and like, how have you managed to fundraise?
That's been like the difficult part, the hardest for me. I admit that I'm not great at fundraising. I openly admit it. And I've been mostly supporting the nonprofit myself, meaning I don't receive a paycheck and there's no big donations coming in. This past year, 2025, was the first year we were able to raise funds from our pharmaceutical partners, which was really a very special blessing. How I'm going to continue forward, I don't know. I think that one of the biggest struggles of a nonprofit, especially someone young like me, is that like you don't have all these skills necessarily. You don't know how to do it. You don't understand the grant writing. You don't understand how to approach the sponsors, the donors, and like out of nowhere, thin air, you have to figure it out. And getting the help that you need oftentimes costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not shekels. And then you're left wondering like, what am I supposed to do? I know that I need help in mentoring. I know that like I need someone that specializes in an area that I don't, and that you can't necessarily afford it. So it kind of takes like a back seat, and you just hope to survive. For this year, I'm just starting my fundraising like now, reaching out to some of our pharmaceutical partners. The other difficult part of it is that when you do reach out, many times like your donors or potential sponsors have very certain requests. That was like a big major hiccup of last year, where it was not compatible, the request of one of our pharmaceutical partners. And so because of it, we didn't get a donation. And that kind of stuck us in this situation where we ended up with less than we expected. But that's the reality, you know.
Mm. No, for sure. So, I mean, it's really amazing what you're doing, the work that you're doing, the way the impact that you're having. Do you find that the relationships you built and how you built the relation, how you're like continuing to cultivate the relationships with all these different people has really made a difference in the fact that you're running your organization by yourself?
Um, I'm not sure. I think that, you know, I managed to do something like, because I don't have a team, it's all seen as me, which sometimes I don't feel it's all me. Like, you know, I really feel it's like blessings from God, that I'm very blessed that someone's willing to help out or donate their time or sit down and explain something to me or have a conversation. But I think that at the end of the day, when you end up thinking about headache and migraine, you end up thinking about my name, which in one hand has its benefits, because that way, you know, I'm connected to the nonprofit and the organization and the work that we're doing. And on the other hand, it creates a situation of like, you know, people don't have a way of diversifying like who and what you are. But I hope that the relationship that we cultivate, that I'm seen in a good light and in a positive way. Um, I haven't noticed it like affect us in, you know, any negative way. That it's basically, you know, one person running around kind of like the headless chicken. And I find that it's, for a lot of people, it works better that there's like one main focal point, that they know who they're contacting, who they're working with, and someone that knows everything from A to Z.
Wow. Do you guys have a lot of volunteers that work with you? Guys, do you manage a lot of
No,
volunteers?
we only have 2 volunteers, and they help manage our Facebook community. Everything else, I mean, if I'm going to go speak with a member of Knesset, if it's chasing down the lobbyist, if it's meeting with a pharmaceutical company, if it's finding patients to speak to the media, I do everything. Um,
Wow. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And so if as we wrap up this episode, first of all, your story is amazing because you're doing everything yourself. You've really grown this organization. You're working very closely with, you know, in a country where everything is all about relationships and all about who you know and how you know them. You know, you've really managed to get into the right spaces and get the resources you need into the people that need them the most. You know, as we wrap up this episode, what piece of advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start a nonprofit from the side where you came from, where you had a problem, you were trying to solve it, so you busted your ass to solve it? Like, so what piece of advice would you give to somebody?
if you, I would say it would be two-founded. First of all, if you have a dream and you truly believe in it, then know that the path is not going to be easy. The famous Robert Frost poem, like the road half walked by or something like that, it's not going to be an easy road. It's not going to be, there's so much you don't know. There's so many skills you're going to need. There's so many a lot of investment that you're going to have to make. But if you believe in what you want to do, then it's going to happen no matter what. It may not happen overnight. Like, I think that's what a lot of us come in to the nonprofit world thinking, like, wow, we're going to change and people are going to welcome us with open arms. But when you're advocating, when you want to change the world, when you have that dream, when you see the world differently, it takes a lot of grit and focus to change. And you just have to not give up. I know it's easier said than done, and people like will be like, whoa, you know, I could want to slap you across the face, because like I hear that all the time. But you just have to preserve and persevere and push your way through, and the good times will come, the blessings will come, and you just have to get past that like hurdle, that bump in the road, and there'll be smooth sailing from there.
No, amazing. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Fayga, for joining us on Beyond the Bottom Line. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on our YouTube channel, Beyond the Bottom Line Show. This episode will be on our website under the Beyond the Bottom Line tab. And if you'd like to learn more about GiveSuite or give it a try for 60 days, you can check us out online, www.givesuite.com, and stay tuned for our big launch with Bravehearts TV. Thank you, Fayga, so much for joining us on the podcast, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.